Today, I'd like to talk about propane as a refrigerant and our Guardian Merchandiser at Zero Zone, which is our brand new self-contained, full-size, low temp and medium temp display case using propane refrigerant. So I want a quick start with some information I'm sure you've all seen. I'm sure you're all tired of seeing AMACT and EPA regulatory information, but it's very important because it's all ever changing. But one thing to note is as we keep going through regulatory requirements, we are past this first date here. So this is that all self-contained standalone units needed to be using a refrigerant less than 150 GWP as of this past January. But if you are familiar with Zero Zone or even some of our competitor cases, there are these uh, display cases with a remote condensing unit on top of it, similar to a self-contained but function as a remote case using a condensing unit. And these will, uh, as the current ruling stands, kind of hit their expiring point for new cases at the end of this year. So as a solution, Zero Zone has a propane display case that complements both the self-contained standalone unit and these hybrid or remote condensing unit cases. Additionally, any case with a remote condensing unit, even if it's not a one-to-one ratio, still falls under this compliance date here. So anything that is not tied to a rack system has to use a GWP of less than 300 if you're under 200 pounds of refrigerants, or GWP of less than 150 if you are higher than 200 pounds of refrigerant. And Zero Zone right now has a few different refrigerant options I'll talk through very briefly, but then we're going to focus on propane. One thing to note that even though there's the proposed technology transition timeline change, the phase down is still going to remain the same. So whether or not the timelines change for transitioning to the new display cases or new refrigerants there, the amount of refrigerant being produced that does not fall under the GWP limits is still going to continuously reduce. So we are still limited by that. The cost of your refrigerants that use higher than a 150 or 300 GWP will continue to increase in price as we move on, just as the way market continues to go on. Additionally, states have their own regulations. It's important to understand what regulatory impacts are already at the state level, such as California or Washington or New York. On Zero Zone's website, we break down what the individual state requirements are. But note that if you're using a CO2 or a propane unit, or even our A2L units in some applications, you would be within compliance. And we're here to help guide you with the different uh, requirements based on your state, but propane, CO2, those are going to be considered kind of gold standards no matter what location you are in based on the GWP requirements. So choosing the right refrigerant. So I did mention we have a few different options for retail space. So think in your grocery, small format, discount stores, a few different refrigerant options. And I think it's important to touch base on when one refrigerant might be more advantageous than another versus just talking only about, let's say, pros of propane. There are some considerations to have as well. So let's start with CO2. So this is considered, I guess, kind of the gold standard for refrigerants. This is what all other refrigerants are compared to when you're comparing their global warming potential, or GWP. It's widely used across different applications, so we typically use it in large format, but we also have small format C-stores, convenience stores that use CO2 as well for cases, walk-ins, all that alike. And it's a highly efficient refrigerant. Some things to note though, CO2 does come with some of its own complexities. So it has a higher operating pressure. So you'll be exposed to higher pressure rated components, and maybe some additional training might be needed to become more familiar with CO2. I'm going to talk on A2L and then I'll get to propane. So A2L, I would say, is the most familiar of refrigerants. Is my screen still showing, Danielle, or did it glitch out?
Nope, you're still showing.
Okay, great. It just kind of changed on my computer. So A2L is one of the most familiar refrigerants compared to HFCs. So it's often compared to R404 as a refrigerant. It does have a different glide ratio, something just to a little bit keep in consideration there, depending on your application. If you're under 200 pounds or over 200 pounds refrigerant charge, maybe there's a different A2L that's best for you or a different refrigerant that might be best for you. But A2L does come with additional leak detection and ventilation. So when you look at display cases, if I'm focusing just on display cases, you will need leak mitigation and leak detection at every single case so that if in the event there is a leak, because this refrigerant is mildly flammable, we can disperse that refrigerant really quickly. And additionally, with A2L, there are some potential restrictions on in the cities or jurisdictions that your store resides in. And really what that means is that the AHJ will just need to approve the use of that refrigerant because of its classification. Now, I'd say that's a relatively manageable risk. A2L is being installed with HVAC across the country. So, and refrigeration is about 9% of total refrigerant use, whereas HVAC takes up the majority. I think it's, yeah, vast majority of refrigerant use. So I would say A2Ls definitely have their play. But what I want to focus on is propane. And so the advantages of propane is that it's super efficient and it is really efficient for small systems. It is highly flammable, and that's why we only use it in small systems. So in a display case, you would have charge requirements, and I'll get into that in a little bit. But one further advantage of propane is that it has a low GWP of less than 3. So CO2 and propane, you have those really low global warming potentials. They're both future-proof refrigerants, and our propane cases are a really great solution for small format applications, medium-sized applications, and so on. So a little bit further on propane here. It does have a low boiling point and high latent heat, making it another highly efficient refrigerant. CO2 is additionally another highly efficient refrigerant there. It is non-toxic, but it is highly flammable, which is why we have those charge limits. So Zero Zone has 150 gram limit cases or units. I'll talk through what that even looks like and show you some photos later on. But depending on your case, the requirements at large, you could do 150 grams without needing extra leak mitigation because it's a flammable refrigerant. Because we use so small of a charge, so less than 150 grams, we do not need leak mitigation. But as soon as you get above that, moving up to 300 grams, you're going to need the leak mitigation. Those would be on doored cases, and on open cases, you can get up to 500 grams, um, potentially up to 700 grams as well. But 500 grams, I think, is where most people are seeing open multi-deck cases at. Uh, Furthermore, it has zero ozone depletion potential, so a GWP of less than 3 and does not harm the ozone layer. So it makes it a really sustainable refrigerant choice. And with the way that we've designed our cases, we've made it really easy for you to have a sustainable refrigerant across your entire fleet of cases. So most of the times people think of propane cases as maybe the smaller beverage cases where you maybe get your sodas out of, or maybe under the counter display cases at checkouts or end caps. We have designed a full grocery store style lineup of cases, which has the same pack out as our traditional grocery store cases. Same depth, same height, same shelves, so you're not having to adjust your planogram there. It is completely self-contained and plug and play. Minimal installation. I'll talk through what that looks like even further, but essentially these cases make it really great for quick installs or quick swaps, but they also have the same advantage of presenting that, high-end, beautiful grocery look. So these cases can be joined together. You have your custom branding that you would do or custom exteriors, and you get a nice, beautiful, seamless finish throughout your store. So our propane line is the Guardian line, Guardian merchandiser. Guardian is the guardian of our planet and our product. It's a sustainable refrigerant. So we wanted to have a name for it that really emphasizes its purpose there. And we have these cases in 2 through 4 door low and medium temp cases. So what you're looking at here is a full lineup. What I really like about these zero zone cases is you can do the same case to case joining that you're used to with previous zero zone cases. You're still getting the same exact pack out as you would with other zero zone cases. It matches the exact same pack out as our other doored low temp and medium temp lines. But then you're also getting the benefits of that propane system. So we have our propane unit. It's a packaged refrigeration unit. So what you're looking at here, this is just the cabinet. So unlike a traditional zero zone case or HFC case from us or any of our the other OEMs in the industry, is all the refrigeration is external. It's all top mounted. So there's nothing in the case. There's no coil, there's no valves, there's no piping. The only thing that's in the case besides the shelves and the frame are if there's additional wires for heating the doors on a low temp case, and the lights. So all the refrigeration is up top in this unit right here. So same features, I've been emphasizing that before, but I think it's super important to note that these are full-size propane units. It's not an easy feat to overcome, and I would say anyone else that has designed a propane case uh, would say the same thing. You're using a small amount of refrigerant to cool such a large capacity of products and to withstand the intensity that is a grocery store, not just maybe some beverages where it doesn't matter if the water is super cold, right? Where we're really trying to have that that same zero zone enduring product that's out there. We brought in the same lights, LED lighting, at 4000 K, same zero zone doors, 30 inches by 68 inches. Uh, we have same regulatory requirements and meet Energy Star as well. So this will be one of the most energy efficient units in the market there. And it's plug and play. And I'll talk through a little bit more about what that means. But right before we get into the installation of the packaged refrigeration unit, or PRU, we have the installation of the case itself. So you'll be familiar with the same case-to-case joining of our other zero zone cases. This case will also fit through an 80-inch doorway, making it a really suitable case for fitting into maybe smaller store environments, or if you already have an existing store and you need to add some more cases or add end caps, you don't have to, you could really just bring these cases through the front door, right? We don't have to do a whole lot of maneuvering around. They're very easy to move around, being forkliftable as well. And I want to remind you that's because we don't have coils at the bottom of these cases anymore. Because we've removed all the refrigeration components and moved them to the top, now we have all that space that we can lower the height. So we still maintain the same height, but we're lowering where that product sits so that we're utilizing this space super efficiently. And you don't install the package refrigeration unit until the cases are set. So now you have a case that's 79.5 inches tall, but still has the exact same pack out as other zero zone cases there. So making it very easy for even customers to access, with being able to access the top shelf super easily, because now you don't have that additional foot and a half where the evaporator coil is. So any shopper like myself, a shorter petite woman, can still access the top shelf up there, making it very friendly for installers, making it friendly for stockers, and friendly for end users. So the package refrigeration unit, kind of the star of the show. So we use under 150 grams of propane, like I said, which doesn't require leak mitigation. These units are really all in one. They kind of sit on this plate, and when you're ready to install it, two people, because it's just shy of 80 pounds, but you would need two people to slide it in place on the ceiling of your case. And we have these glides there that help slide the unit in, and then you'll seat it in place. Once you seat it, you'll bolt it down, plug it in, and you can start running your case. We've had contractors that have been able to swap PRU units, so you could take one off and replace it with a new one and get that case up and running in as little as 20 minutes. So we've made it very, very easy on the store side, the contractor side, anyone doing maintenance, to be able to handle these units, to make it easy to see where they go, to install them, to replace them. So we are seeing high uptime, right? Because these units are super easy to access. Should you need to replace it, you could do that really quickly. A feature of these zero zone units as well is that you see we have multiple here, right? We have on that 2-door, I had one PRU unit. On our 3-door, we have two PRUs. On our 4-door, we have two, and our 5-door, we have three. So you have a few different units here because, like I said, we're limited with the amount of grams of propane we can use. One unit can't just cool the entire 5-door case. So you will need multiple units there. But with the ratio that we have there, so 3 units on a 5-door, or 2 units on a 4-door, or two on a 3-door and one on a 2-door, there's a little bit of extra capacity in there. And so in the event, should not happen, but in the event that something were to go down with one unit in your whole lineup, there you have those other units that can help you and can help that case run. So should one of these units here go down, we have that additional capacity to be able to keep you running up, keep your product temps going, so that you can make that replacement. And with a swap in as little as 20 minutes, you should be pretty good. But we've designed this very thoughtfully. It's a zero zone custom design package refrigeration unit that takes into consideration all the nuances of our case. We've done all the work to make sure that the airflow is optimized so that it's not just, let's say, a standard unit here. We've really thought through all the exact curvature in the case and how many door openings a case would have so that we can maintain proper product temperatures and withstand the conditions of your store environments. So I care very deeply about our PRU. Maybe you can tell. But I think it's a really huge feat in propane, and I see a lot of other OEMs coming out with more propane cases as well. And there's going to be a lot brand new technology coming out. So I'm very excited for the future of propane because we're not just focused on maybe smaller units now. We are seeing the rise of propane as being full store solutions with large retailers accepting propane as the only refrigerant. And with our ability to do propane in low temp and medium temp, you have that option to have a fully propane store. Another close up here of our package refrigeration unit. You can see that we're trying to make all the components very accessible as well. And then again, you need to do that swap, it can be done very quickly. What is 150 grams of propane, though? So I said that, we're limited with how much that is. If you're new to propane, it's really not a lot. It's around 10 ounces or less than, a can of Diet Coke. But that small amount of refrigerant delivers a lot of cooling. It has a lot of potential. So that just goes to show how efficient propane is as a refrigerant. I've talked through what propane is good for. But let's talk about what the cases are good for. So, other than small format, small grocery, you could think of these cases as really good solutions for end caps or spot merchandising. So, like I said, really easy to bring these cases in. You can set it, put the PRU on top. There you go. You got a spot merchandiser right there. Maybe you're expanding your store options and you're offering online grocery pickup. These cases, again, really simple, EPA compliant cases, you can bring them in, expand your online grocery pickup, or maybe you have more of a front of store, high end, or like high popular items that you want right out there, right front and center. This is a great way to add to your lineup. And I'm showing black here, but we do have the ability to offer cases that match your store's branding as well. And then these are also really great in the event of remodels. You can keep your cases, keep your store running, keep uptime. These cases work perfectly because the ability to just set the PRU, plug it in, and get running. You have a full-sized case here, so we're not limited in that pack out. And I I know that merchandisers, store associates would be really happy to hear that because you don't have to change the way your store is laid out. You can upgrade, remodel really quickly. So you can put these cases in as temporary solutions, or they could become the permanent solution there. I do have a video as well. I don't know if you can hear audio, but there is no audio other than just some music, so it doesn't necessarily need any audio there. But just further talking through, summarizing everything that I explained today. All this information is available on our website. So our package refrigeration unit does use a reversed airflow uh, for cooling. So the advantage of using that, I'll touch on after this video. And we're showing these at different applications just to keep thinking about it. So it's not that it can only be used for remodels or end caps, but just other ways to think about using a display case. So the advantage of using a reverse airflow design for our display case is that we get the benefits of having the coldest air coming down the back of the wall. And then as you bring that warm air up front, now you have warm air hitting your door. So you're reducing condensation there, and allows us to actually take out additional heat from the case, allowing us to have one of the best energy efficient units in the market. And I believe that is all I have ready for you. Finally, though, just leave it with our nomenclature. So if you are interested in learning more about these cases, we have the different nomenclature to understand uh, how to purchase it.